I'm delighted with our very own Ryan Ofei, all the way from Canada. Am I correct?
Canada, currently living in the US though.
Wow. So, like, that's where kind of like historically, I think that we've always known you are from Canada. When
Mhm.
did you move to the USA? What's that been like for you?
It's been 7 months now. I moved
Wow.
with my wife Priscilla, who's actually from the UK, and it's been a really awesome experience. We have a church home out there called Shoreline City Church. So it's been awesome. They've helped us like acclimatize and all the things, and it's been great.
Now,
It's been
Ryan, we know you here in the Step Forward family, and it's just such a pleasure to have you kind of be with us today.
yeah.
But for those of us that don't really know you, tell us a little about you, what you do, and just a little bit about your journey would be great.
Yeah, thanks, Carla. My name is Ryan Ofei, from Ghana. I was actually born in London, which is like a fun fact.
No way.
hmm And I moved a bunch. I mean, I moved to Ghana, I moved to the States, and ended up in Canada. And that's where I fell in love. Well, that's where I really took music seriously, music and worship ministry. And so I'm a Ghanaian Canadian artist, Christian artist, and married for 2 years now. And I just love the Lord. I love the Lord. I love making music. I love pushing the boundaries um, within the space of worship, and just seeing how far we can take it, create it creatively, but still just having like an awesome presence and the truth being at the core of it. And so that's a bit of who I am.
That's incredible. I love the fact that you are clearly a man of many nations.
Yeah,
You have Africa in there, you have the United Kingdom, and you have the USA. That's
yeah.
three separate continents in one
Mhm.
man. That's almost half the world right there, which is
Yeah.
incredible.
And I think it's intentional. Like even when I was like growing up, I moved so much. I was at like 8 different schools in 8 years, and I was like, this is excessive. But I think you look back on it and you're like, okay, there was a reason for this. Getting used to meeting different people, things like that. So yeah, I love it.
This is yeah, it's great that you can look back at your journey and kind of you have experienced it that way. A lot of what we think about sometimes is our reality is the story that we tell ourselves, and I think someone that's been on a
Mhm.
journey like yourself, that's so diverse, so many changes in such
Mhm.
a concentrated space of time, can be really tough on most young people.
Right.
And yet the way that you talk about it sounds like, actually, I think this is intentional, and then
Mhm.
settle there and see what God can do with the gold and all of that, which is incredible.
Mm.
And I wonder, is that part of the story that is reflected in your journey so far? Like, maybe you can tell us about how you got involved with music.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, I remember a day I was 6 years old. Or no, I was like 4 or 5 actually. I told my mom, I'm like, I need to sing. She would always be playing worship videos and sermons and things like that. I'm like, I need to do it. I'd never tried it before, but it just felt like something I could do. And maybe that was just what the Lord had placed in my heart. And so she was like, shut up, be quiet. I was like, no, like I have to. I felt like I was gonna explode. And so she allowed me to sing, and it must have been good because she was like, okay. She started like inviting people that lived in our neighborhood, and she just kind of championed me. Anytime we went anywhere, like anytime we moved somewhere, she'd be like, "My son can sing. My son can sing." And so that's really how I got into music. I think I had a pivotal point in my teenage years, where I found God for myself and made
Mm.
that decision. Almost died in a car accident, and so it was just like everything just kind of came, and I was like, man, what am I doing with my life? Where am I going? Who am I? What is the impact going to be? Is it that I wasted my time here on Earth? Just that realization that you just don't know what tomorrow holds. And yeah, I took that, ran with it, led worship at my college campus, Campus Rush, out here in Canada. And in 2021, I connected with Maverick City over Zoom calls. It was so random, but it was the work of the Lord. Connected with them and traveled to Atlanta, recorded, toured, all the things. And so, yeah, that's what brought us to this place.
That's an amazing journey. I love, firstly, how you said about your mom always championed you. What would we do without the people that push
Yeah.
us towards where we're supposed to be, right? Have
Mhm.
you had any other kind of people or communities that have really kind of supported you along this journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many people. I really do believe like you see one person and there's like a lot of people who are supporting them. Whether it be like my dad who took me to piano lessons every single week, um, whether it be even my best friend who we were roommates all throughout college and uni. We were roommates, and I expressed to him that I love music, and now he's my manager. Yeah, and even John Jay from Maverick City. Like when we connected, there was he really just he loved me. He really saw what the Lord had like put on the inside of me and like really was like, I'm pushing you and help you to be everything you're called to be. Not to mention like just family, like church family and stuff. So I think it's you see one person, but there's like so many people behind that one person helping them.
I heard today somebody said they normally say it takes a village, right, to raise a
Hmm.
person, to raise a dream. But
Yeah,
actually, it takes a whole city.
I
And it
agree.
sounds like the way that you've described it, that that's kind of a similar figurative experience. Like,
Yeah,
you don't just see one person. When you see the one person, that is actually representative of like a wealth of people who have invested their time, their prayer supply, their
yeah,
just belief,
yeah.
and like you said, their resources. Take like dad taking me to piano lessons is no joke. Every single
Mhm.
day, it costs their consistency to be consistent for you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a really really big deal. Would you say there's ever kind of been a lineup of inspirational artists that have like been these are icons for me and kind of the footsteps I want to follow?
Yeah, I mean, I as far back as I remember listening to Kirk Franklin. I remember listening to Israel Houghton. Um, those are the two that like really come like to mind, like off the top of my head. Obviously, like great influences from Africa, like Sony Badu, Joe Metal, Nathaniel Bassey. Um, but I think it's just been crazy because really in the past 2 years, I've gotten a chance to meet every single one of those people that I've like named off, if not collaborated with them as well. And so that's just been like you know that you look up to them, but you may never think that you'll meet them. You never think like, oh, I'm gonna bump into them, much less work with them. And so that's been like really full circle and really encouraging for me, even in the past year or two.
I think that's such a great thing to hear when you said like the people that we aspire to follow who have kind of
Yeah,
led the path. And it's interesting you raised Israel Houghton. He was kind of mine too as a worship leader. And I
yeah.
was like, God, only you know. And I remember we were in Nashville. This is like 2008. And my mother and I were crossing the street. And he was crossing the street at the same time. And
Oh
she
my
said,
goodness.
excuse me, can I just? And we come from the UK. And
Yeah,
that was again, like you had your dad, I had my mom. He was
yeah.
pushing like, I know what's inside of my child. I know that there is a calling
Oh,
here. What can we do to make sure that they're in the places they should be, even if it's just like exposure, so that our mindset is always open to receive what God can do. And
yeah,
that was kind of one of those moments. And you having not just met your people,
yeah.
collaborated with them, that's incredible. Who have you had a chance to collaborate with that was kind of an
Um,
insight for you growing up?
yeah. So I remember I got invited to a camp through Maverick City, and I saw like the list of the people that were going to be there. Israel's name was on there. There was like Kirk's name was on there, and I was honest. This is so funny looking back on it, but I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to that. I was like, I need to like go get better at this, and I remember my wife being like, what are you talking about? Like this is what you prayed for. You're called for this. My manager, same thing, just be like, you got this. And so I went, and I remember we were like having like a dinner before like we got into any music stuff, and Brandon Lake was actually like, this is Ryan Ofei. He's an awesome worshiper. Da, da, da. And I think he brought up that I was from Ghana. So Israel and I just started talking about Ghana, some churches that he's been to there. And he's like, hey, do you want to write tomorrow? And I was,
No
and I
way.
was like, I was like, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, sure. So we worked on a song, Freedom Looks Good on You. We actually wrote like four songs that day, but Freedom Looks Good on You is one that like made it out. So that was really awesome. Got to be a part of with Kirk Franklin, we went to Everglades Correctional Facility in Miami. So we were in the jail and on the prison, and just like with the inmates and worshiping with them and all that. So a lot of those songs that came off that project, like "Bless Me" or "Kingdom," and even on the deluxe, like I'm there, I'm a part of it, helping write and sing some of them, and so it was just surreal, like to grow up hearing like the reason why I sing, and then to be singing it beside Kirk Franklin in a prison in Miami and on tour. It was just like, what's going on? What's going on in my life? But it's just a privilege, like super humbled to be able to experience those things. And I know like it's not for a reason. It's to like carry, share, and impart into the next generation, really. So yeah.
That's incredible. I love how we've been able to kind of share and kind of just take a look through kind of the gallery of Ryan Ofei's journey. Some real
Yeah.
highlights there that you've mentioned. And you mentioned kind of just like the work that you're kind of known for with Campus Rush Music, those incredible collaborations. What have
Hmm.
been some of the kind of challenges along the journey? I know we always talk about the highlight
Hmm.
reels, right? But it's the
Yeah.
bits in between that people don't always see that can be sometimes the most defining. Can you
Mm.
share maybe some of those moments with us?
Yeah, I think just feeling like giving up. I think that's it's like the easiest thing that can happen. Um, because I think like the first time we ever put out a song, I think under Campus Rush, I was like, "Oh, it's done. We're gonna be the biggest thing in the world." And it's like nobody listened to it, and so it's like that. I think that was one of the biggest challenges is like learning to push through, but also learning to be consistent even if nobody ever hears it, and I think that's something that the Lord taught me in that season was just like you do it because I called you to do it. You could do it because you love people. You don't do it because you get to be like glorified or you get the biggest numbers out of it. And obviously that was then, this is now. It looks so different, but I'm kind of grateful for the harder season. Like, and it was tough. I mean, that's just one side of it. Not to mention like being in school, trying to figure out who you are, trying to find a job. Like there'd be times it's like I'm leading worship at my college campus. I come home, open my fridge, and it's just like water bottle. It's like there's nothing there. So it's like I've lived through that, lived through my mom having two hip replacements, lived through like not being around my family, like just a whole bunch of things that are challenges. And I'm sure everyone, when they look at their life, they're able to identify moments where they're like, man, this is hard. But I think the hope or the constant, like the thing that keeps us in all of that is that the Lord was just faithful. You know, he was good. He was good when I didn't know what was going to happen next or where I'd be or what I'd be doing. And so that just leaves you with so much peace wherever you find yourself in the journey. It's like, man, should he want us to take it this far or should he want us to stop here? He's going to be faithful. So, yeah.
That was super encouraging, and I'm so grateful that you shared that, particularly because many of us can relate to like what you said, opening our fridge sometimes, and I don't have stuff in it, or
Hmm.
the fact is I still have needs in terms of putting a roof over my head and having to sustain
Yeah.
a life.
Yeah.
And not a lot of us always hear about that part of the journey where we
Mm-hmm.
see the highlight reel, we see a released album or song or a
Mm-hmm.
collective on a platform. It's not the
Yeah.
bits that we think about. And to hear you speak so realistically, we can all connect with those elements like family, concern, care, watching things around us not always go in a straight line is
Yeah.
very real. That's super
Mm-hmm.
encouraging. I want to talk about this incredible news drop of your collaboration called Baba
Yes.
with some real homegrown names for us. So these are
Yes.
household names. They're kind of special to us.
Uh,
Anatoria and Called Out Music. Tell us
yeah.
about this incredible song. What was the story behind it?
Yeah, well, Baba, it's a beautiful song. I mean, I've been holding camps, and so I was working on this song, and we finished it. It felt good. I wrote it with myself, my friend Tariq Henry, and Nate Diaz. That's like how it started initially, and my wife tells me she's like, "Called Out would sound really good on this." So that's what she said, and it just kind of planted the bug in my like I'm like, if you think so, I'm sure someone else thinks the same thing, and I could really hear it as well. And so him and I had been talking, we'd been speaking about possibly working on something, but something that he was big on, and I am as well, is like not just doing it to do it, but doing it because it feels right and it's a God thing, etc. And so I sent him Baba, and he's like, I have free time this week. I'm gonna cut something to it. So that was awesome. So he set over a verse for the song, and I mean, my team, we're playing it like every single day. And the thing is, though, because I wrote it with Nate, he had a verse that he had written that we weren't necessarily using because Called Out had done his own verse. And then I think what happened was I got connected to Anatoria. She was in Dallas, and I had just moved to Dallas. And she was like, "Yeah, I'm just here. I don't know what I'm doing today." And my wife and I were like, "Let's hang out." Like we took her out. We just
I
hung
love
out with
that.
her. We were chilling with her. And fun fact, she was at our wedding randomly. She was there at our wedding randomly.
Was she
So
a wedding crasher or was she invited?
no, she was invited. I mean, she was invited.
I love the pause there because
She was somebody's plus one, so she was
I
invited.
love that so much. It's just like this stuff happens, like
Yeah.
really big weddings. It can happen. You can just there's a party. I'm here for the party. So
Yeah.
great.
I just remember she was dancing like some really awesome dance moves. And I'm like, who is this person? And my wife's like, that's Anatoria. So this was our second time meeting her. We got to hang out and
Wow.
like just really feel her heart and, just talk. And so I shared the song with her and I was like, hey, like this is something I worked on. I did it with Called Out Music, but would you be interested in possibly being a part of it as well? And she was like, yeah, I'm down. And so that's really the story of how it came together. And the song Baba means father. It just touches, and I think that's something I've been heavy on in this season. Just like really realizing the father, realizing our identity in him, and putting a little vibe to it as well. And so, yeah, that's how it came to be. That's what the song's about, and it's incredible.
I think even in that message, like the whole idea of a father figure is something
Mm.
that's kind of a tension point in society right now, right? So to
Yeah,
speak about okay, even where we have maybe a lot of absence of fatherhood figures
yeah,
in society, or we see a crisis there, that's kind
mm,
of really spoken about in the media. Certainly here in the UK, I imagine it might be where you are as well.
right,
Um, to hear like actually we do have a father, and to speak about that, to champion actually the
yeah,
role of a true father and what it should look like is
hmm
huge affirmation, I think, over the people that hear it, which is
hmm
great. It's encouraging. Would
hmm
you say like with a song like that that's really powerful and it really speaks to the heart of every human,
yeah.
um, would you say that perhaps like your music and what you feel God has put through you because of music is kind of something real special? What's the message, I guess, that he's asked you to share through your music, if
Yeah,
there is one?
yeah. I just really feel called to worship and doing it in spirit and in truth. Just I believe like you should feel something when you listen to music. You should feel something, but you should also be receiving the truth as well. And so
Mm.
that's just been, I feel like it's been my mission from whenever I started, and also just pushing boundaries. I think sonically, um, it can be predictable sometimes in Christian music. Like, oh, I know I'm going to get this out of this person, and I've just had fun, just like flipping the script. Like people know that I'm like going to be worshiping on my knees, and then they hear Baba, and they're like, wait, what? Like I've had fun with that because um, I really believe that you know we're not limited. Like our expression to our Father is. It can be jumping, it can be shouting, it can be screaming, it can be quiet, like, and just having fun with that. I think the music that we make reflects the seasons of life that we walk through. And so you may just be in a season that looks more like this, and being a creative and being in tune with the Holy Spirit and all of that, not like subjecting yourself to like a genre, like, oh, it has
Mm.
to be this. I need organ on this song because that's what people expect. Like, no, being free enough to be like, hey, what has God given me? It's daily bread. It's fresh today. Like, what is the bread for today? It may not look like the bread tomorrow, but it's still something like divine for people. And so that's kind of the space that I've been in, and it's been fun. it's been awesome.
That's amazing. Okay, wild card question, which I
Yeah,
kind of like to have a little bit of fun with our guests.
let's go.
If music did not exist, what would Ryan O'Fay be doing?
If music did not exist, I'd probably be doing two things. I'd probably be like a painter.
Okay.
I'd probably be painting. I love visual art, so that's something that I was like really big on. I used to play sports too, but I don't think I'd be doing that right now. I'd be I think I'd be a painter by day. Okay, let me flip that. I think I'd be a real estate agent by day and a painter by night. Something like that.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's so
I love
randomly wild. Why real
yeah,
estate? That's so
I
interesting.
just I like business. I like homes. I just think it's cool. I think it's cool to like flip a place, make it a rental, sell it. Like it's something that I enjoy being a part of. So I think I would do that by day, and then I'd be painting by night.
I love that the creative flair would still be there in
Yeah,
painting. I find that such a therapeutic practice. It's just
yeah,
great, isn't it? Whether it's, just for yourself, it's just
mhm.
wonderful what you can create in that space. It's
Yeah.
been such an amazing opportunity to talk with you, Ryan. We're excited
Likewise.
about this track. I'm trusting that it goes far and
Mhm.
wide. Obviously, we've got our UK bias because you've got some household names on that record, which is
Oh,
awesome. But I wanted to ask you before we close the conversation, like, what advice would you give to other up and coming artists who
oh yeah.
kind of trying to find their way, kind of what it's like in this world, particularly in the gospel genre or
Mm.
Christian genre? What advice could you give them?
I think the best advice I could give anybody is for the first, like, keep the main thing the main thing. Like, love Jesus hard, love people hard, stay in your word, stay in prayer. And these are things that you probably hear all the time, but it's just like letting that be the prize. Like, let that be the prize. Let your family be the prize. Like, because a stage and a platform, it may come, it may go, you know, and the applause of man will fade someday. Someday we won't even be here, but just love on Jesus, be in your word, love your family. That and just be unapologetically yourself. Like,
Mm.
who are you? Like, what is it that God has given you? What is the sound that God's given you? What's the message He's given you? It's going to be different than what He's given your brother or your sister, or maybe even somebody that you admire. And so, really leaning into the authenticity that's within your heart, because the world doesn't need another Ryan Ofei or Nathaniel Bassey or whatever. Like, they don't need that. Like, the world needs the unique expression and divine sound that's placed on the inside of you. So keep the main thing, and be yourself. It's the best
I
advice
love
I
that.
can give.
I love that so much. Authenticity is really key, isn't it? We really don't
Mhm.
need carbon copies of one another.
Mhm.
We need
Mhm.
the unique gifts that God has placed inside of all of us.
Yes.
Ryan, what can we expect next from you, and how can people follow and support your work?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Follow and support. I'm on all socials. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, X, Threads, whatever you need to find me on, I'm there. And it's my name, Rhino Faye. Really easy and simple. And what to expect next? I'm working on a project. I'm working on an album that'll be coming shortly, God willing, within the next month or two, called Restore, and it touches on my life and touches on my journey and just how awesome God is and how He can restore any situation. So please be on the lookout for that. It's gonna be awesome.
This is incredible. And I encourage everybody to go out and follow on the socials. And we're waiting with bated breath for this next drop of an album.
I
I know
love
it's
that.
going to touch a lot of people. You've shone such a bright light for so many. And thank you just
Wow.
for being obedient to what God has asked you to do. It's great to have you as part of the Step Forward family. God bless you. Thank you so much for your time, Ryan O'Fay.
Thank you, Carla.